Yeah, he's in focus.
All right. We're going to start again, Grandpa. Okay. All right, we'll start with when and where were you born?
What?
When and where were you born?
When and where?
Yep.
Well, Chamberlain, South Dakota. It was a big town on the Missouri River of probably 2,900 people at that time.
Wow.
You know, and I just happened on the scene, you know. 1931 was, boy, that was hard years in all over the country, you know, but especially in Chamberlain, because they were having a hard time making a living. And Grandpa Drew was probably what you just call a day laborer. He worked wherever he could find a job.
How much do you think you would make an hour doing this?
Oh, probably 25 cents.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
That's it.
that was horrible.
And how many brothers and sisters did you have?
Well, I had 4 sisters and 1 brother. You can't imagine.
Yeah. Okay, Drew, and feel free to chime in if you have anything. And then if you need a break too, Grandpa, you just let me know. Okay?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. All right, I have another question here now. What did your average school day look like when you went to school?
Wow. Man. I'll tell you, my first day at school was just tremendous. Due to the fact that I was one of the poor kids, and my first grade, I just remembered it being a terror, just a bad day, you know, the whole year. And I never got over it till probably my 5th grade.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and man, I hated school.
Oh,
Yeah,
no. Yeah.
and you know, and my sister Roberta was probably part of the reason that I hated her, and I hated school.
Yeah.
You know, she taught me how to skip school and just walk away from it every day. And a lot of days I did not go to school.
Yeah.
And all because Roberta was there leading me on my crime spree.
She was a bad influence, huh?
Yeah, she was. She was.
Okay.
And because she knew how to go downtown, beg money,
Oh, yeah.
you know, wherever we had to go. And
Yeah.
just
How did you get to school? Did you walk?
really walk.
You walked to school.
I did.
How many kids were in your class?
Oh, I suppose there were 28,
Oh, wow, that's
as
pretty
I
big.
remember.
Okay.
Yeah. And, you know, that was not a very big class,
Yeah.
but it was big enough that when I left it from time to time, they didn't miss me. I'll tell you what, the river played a very large part in our lives. I mean, most of my friends were swimmers, and so I had to be one, you know. So eventually, probably about 7th grade, you know, I got to be a good swimmer, and I joined a crew that called themselves the River Rats, and And they were just about what the name in some community said.
Yeah.
They were river rats. They were as soon as the water got warm, we were all on the river every day. Every day that it was reasonable. And in order to become a river rat, you had to had certain initiation procedures, and one of them was that when you became a genuine river rat, you swam the river. I mean, you swam it from bank to bank, and it was really, at that time, they had no bridges, very few crossings on the Missouri River, and of course, I wanted to be part of the clique, the gang,
Sure.
So, my gosh, I guess I was in the 8th grade, maybe in the 7th. But anyway, man, I wanted to be a river rat. And so I spent a lot of time at the river and with the guys, They took me out to the opposite shore.
Yep.
And man, I'll tell you, that was a long way across at that time.
All right, Grandpa, we're gonna go to the next one, okay?
Along the river banks. Oh, God.
Cause a scene, huh?
Yeah. Well, we did stuff like that, though. Never even give it a second thought. We played softball on an island out in the middle of the river, and bare naked. And gee, how can you do that? Well, we just did it. Never give it a second thought.
Yeah.
God.
Those are the days.
Guy named Chuck Nelson. I remember he was up on a car bridge, not the one that's there now, but the one that went in later after they put the dams in. But gee, he got out his spyglass, and the thing must have been that long when you collapsed it. And when he got that out, and he got up there in the middle of that bridge, and started passing that thing around, oh, that is really something.
Okay, so how long were you in the National Guard? How many years?
You mean from start to finish?
Yeah. Do you have a year or so?
I joined in August of '47, and I had to lie to get in because I was only 16. So anyway.
So you lied to get in. I didn't know that.
I lied to get into the car. Yeah, because that was a way to make maybe $3 a week.
Oh, wow.
And that was pretty good money at that time.
Yeah.
So
You're supposed to be 18?
you're supposed to be 17.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, that's when I joined the Guard.
Okay.
August of 1947. Okay. How long was I in the Guard? Till September of 1980, September of 86.
86.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I had a total of 38 years in the Guard.
Wow.
Yeah. And during that time, I got promoted because I was eligible for different schools, and I went. And some of them were mechanical schools, and some of them were just paperwork schools. So anyway, I never turned down a school, and I got out in 1986 as a full colonel, and a total of 36 years, and that was great.
So you might not have started out liking school, but you made up for it when you were in the Guard.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
You know, my sister, Roberta, she was not a very good student, you know, and she taught me a lot of bad things.
Okay. All right. When did you meet Grandma? Like, what's the story? How did you meet Grandma?
I met Grandma in the back seat of a 34 Chevy. And what happened was that I was, you know, in my usual mode of being around in Chamberlain, being one of the guys, you know. And her brother came along in this 34 Chevy, and Marlis was in the back end of it, in the back seat. And so, of course, Dwayne being what he was, he sees me along the street. Hey, you know, you want to go for a ride? Yeah, why not, you know. So he had Marla in the back seat, and he was driving, and I climbed in the empty spot on the front seat. So anyway, we went for a ride, and I never even knew who Marlis was. But anyway, Dwayne took us all for a ride over on the American Island at that time. And so when we got back to Chamberlain, and he went out to the farm or wherever, out to the farm, and with his sister, and I never knew who Marlis was at that time. But the next time he picked me up, and I asked Dwayne, I said, who is this girl in the back seat? Well, that's my sister. Really? I thought it was your girlfriend. Yeah, I did. You know, and no, that's my sister. So, no big deal. We rode around Chamberlain for a little bit. And then they went out to the farm. And I wrote Marlis a letter, a really love letter. And I told her I'd like to go out with her sometime. So when they came to Chamberlain the next time, Dwayne's folks was with them. And so was Marlis, and of course Dwayne. But when I found out that was his sister and not his girlfriend, you know, I just said, yeah, so that's somebody you can go after if you want to. And so they came to town this was like probably 2 or 3 weeks later, and they came to town and they parked on Main Street. And I asked Marla if she wanted to go for a walk with me. You know, the beautiful streets of Chamberlain. Anyway, you know, and So, no big deal, yeah, I would go for a walk with you. We walked the streets of Chamberlain. And we ended up going up past the schoolyard. And so, here's a nice schoolyard, green grass. So we went in there and sat and talked for a while. And so the next time that Dwayne came to town with the folks and Marlis, I made sure that I got Marlis to go for a walk with me, and up by the schoolhouse, and which was very romantic. Yeah. And so we went up and, at the schoolyard, sat on the grass and talked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was your thing, taking walks and.
So, yeah, that was just a good life. And we were married in May, and then we got mobilized and went to Alaska. And wow, here was a young staff sergeant, which was pretty phenomenal. And Marlis and I made our life in Manitou Springs, just outside of Fort Carson. Well, we weren't there very long, and we got word that they were going to mobilize our company at Anchorage, Fort Carson, and send us to Korea. Oh man, I did not want to go to Korea. There are people getting killed over there. So anyway, we loaded all of our equipment on the train, and next day we hopped on the train and headed out, and we spent 2 days on the train, and we just knew we were going to go to Korea, and what the hell, okay, so if we're going to go to Korea, that's just part of the job. So we got on the train, went to Fort Lewis, Washington, and stayed there for 2 days, and they took away all of our summer gear, our suntan clothing, all that. They took that away from us and issued us warm weather clothing. Gee, we know it was cold in Korea, so we just accepted that. We got on the boat, and we were out to sea for just a day. And they announced that we were not going to Korea. We were going to Fort Lewis, or going to Alaska. So, because the idea was the Russians were coming over, going to come across the Bering Strait, which wasn't a very big piece of water. And so we would be on guard duty in Alaska, and to protect the air base up there, which is a sister air base air base to Ellsworth Air Force Base. Dwayne got discharged, and we were talking, and he said, what he was going to do. Wow. So I really don't have a job. Well, I think I can get you one, working for the same company that I work for. So, sure enough, he got hired by Brink, and we were bridge to employees. We delivered and set up a bottle of gas. I mean, we set it up. You had to have, you know, pipe and all that good stuff. But
Mhm.
we learned that job in a hurry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Dwayne was a bottle of guy gas, and so was I.
Oh, something on your lips there. And I know we're skipping a few years, but when your kids are a little bit older, what are your favorite memories from what would you, I know you went to the lake a lot, did a lot of skiing, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Is that some of your favorite memories is lake and?
Well, I think hunting and going to the lake was probably it, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, in the evening, we would go down to Bob and Roberta's place in Chamberlain,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a pretty big place. And so we'd go down there and drink beer and play cards and put Mike on the bed in the spare room
Mm-hmm.
while we were doing what we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you were young.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, the reason we went to Bob and Roberta's was they had a big house, and Bob used to bottle beer.
No.
So he'd go down to his place and drink green beer. Oh, it wasn't processed at all. And Bob could never wait, you know, to drink his beer. God, that was terrible. Oh, anyway,
Yeah.
we'd be down in Bob and Roberta's. We'd hear the beer getting fermenterized.
Mm-hmm.
And then after it would start fermenting, the caps would start popping off in it and down in the basement, you know.
Yeah.
So then we could go down and grab some beer, play some cards, and just have a wonderful time.
How did you feel about all the bands coming in and out of your home all the time?
Well, I'll tell you what, that was a real experience. And those bands coming in there and practicing in the basement and eating food off of our table. And it was just a wonderful experience because we met all of the band members, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and then Darla picked up on it, and it was just a real, it really was an exciting time. You know, we had guys from the band sleeping in our basement, eating at our table, and you know, sometimes they'd come in there and Marlis would just whip them up a couple sandwiches or something. But we had, I'm guessing, probably 25 band members staying at our house one way or another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How unique. What a unique experience. You know, that's not normal.
No, it wasn't normal. And they practiced in our band. And I'm not saying, you know, the band was sometimes 4 or 5 guys, but different guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the band, you know, trying out or whatever, doing whatever. God. So, yeah, on Rifler Street.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it must have caught the neighbor's eye. You know.
Yeah.
And like Rod Schroeder had a Volkswagen car.
Yeah.
And forget what kind of a car. The others had, but there was always a couple of cars parked there.
Wow, I did not know that story.
Yeah,
That was fun. Huh.
it's pretty wild.
When I think of memories from your house, I think of tapioca pudding for some reason.
Oh, really?
I think of Diet
Yeah.
7-Up.
Yeah.
I think of caramels and fudge.
Oh, yeah.
Sewing, obviously, and finding needles in the carpet. Remember finding the needles in the carpet?
Right.
That was like our job, to find the needles in the
Oh, yeah.
downstairs carpet. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. What do you think of when you think of
Popcorn balls was another one.
popcorn balls? Yep.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean,
I think of that scooter we had and we put the chair on. Do you remember the scooter? We put a chair over it.
Yep.
And then we used it as like a little.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Many, many good memories there. Soldiers can.
Yeah.
We did not have much money. And you know, for a while, I mean, for most of that time there, we had 4 kids.
Yeah.
And, you know, so they'd come over and, like I say, pick green beans
Mm-hmm.
and eat sunflower seeds.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
But that's what we remember.
yeah.
All right, here's another question for you. Do you need a sip? Let's give you a sip. Okay. All of your grandchildren are pretty accomplished kids, right? Pretty accomplished, all of us.
Very.
How do you feel about that? A lot of it stems from the values you guys instilled in us.
And Marlis and I talked about that several times. And how you kids were all talented and, you know, the good life that you had carved out for yourself. And, you know, we never did quite understand, you know, the talent that you guys had. And you all had talent. And we never quite understood how did our grandchildren, our
And
children, yeah, you know, happen to just seem to be so talented in whatever they wanted to do. My gosh, we couldn't believe it. You know, Marlis did little piano talent, and I had some mechanical and military talent, but we don't know why or how you kids ever came up to be as talented as you were. I mean, you know, look what you did. Yeah?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
like I said,
Look what Drew did.
I think it's
Yeah.
all comes from the hard work that we've seen through you,
Yeah.
you know, and what it takes sometimes.
Boy, I'll tell you, we've just wondered at that so many times. Gee, when we get together, be sitting around talking to
Yeah.
friends, you know, and say, how the hell did our children ever become that talented?
Yeah.
And you did, Jesus. And then you went on from that. My God.
Yeah, all 4 of your children are successful and
Yeah.
accomplished too, and I think that's
Yeah.
it's very telling for what you instilled in them, right, Drew?
yeah, absolutely.
What do you think that being a leader in the National Guard, what was the biggest life lesson that being a leader in the National Guard kind of gave
The
you?
biggest life lesson
Yeah.
I learned in the Guard is if you're gonna be something or somebody, you better get an education. And I never missed going to a school or a class or whatever while I was in the Guard. And I went to a lot of schools. And, you know, like I said, the first school I went to was a mechanical school, and when I came back from that, I got a job with the Guard, and we were the maintenance people. Yeah. So yeah, that Guard taught me an awful lot about living, and you know what you needed to do to get along in the world was an education. So I went to every school that was available, and as a staff sergeant, and I did that. I let that lifestyle lead me all the way up to being a full colonel, and it was just something that I never learned it in school, but it was something that I learned when I joined the National Guard. And you're going to get ahead and make some money and get an education and be somebody, then you better be ready to put in the work and go to school whenever it was offered. So that's what it is.
Well, thank you for sharing some of these stories with us. Thanks for sharing the stories with us.
Well, you know, I won't have any more grandchildren.
No.
Or children.
No.
So that's really nice to think that you guys are going to, take a little history.
Yeah.
I mean, because those things were not very well known.
Yeah. I think it's really important.
When we played that softball game out in the middle of the river, with on that sandbar, and had all the guys out there naked, and all the people up on the bridge with spyglasses, binoculars, and that's where Chuck Nelson, he got out his big old spyglass and he was passing that around up there. Oh my God. But, you know, guys like Dwayne were in that group. Yeah. And guys, Jack Adamson. Oh, man.
All right, well, if there's one more thing you just want to end it with, I don't know if you want to say anything to your kids or us or anything, or...
Well, what can we say, you know? Our grandchildren took about the same route we did with our kids. And they let them have just so much freedom. But they always kept a little rein on them, and so they didn't go completely crazy. But that's the thing they did. We did it, and you guys are doing it. You know, you let your kids be, sort of as much freedom as you could allow, really. You know, and
that's the key, huh?
That was so great.
Yeah.
It really was.
Okay.
And look at them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Not only our grandkids, but our great-grandkids. Oh, man. I tell you what, if I could do it all over again, I would. I really would. That was so much fun. Oh.
Well, thanks, Grandpa.
Thinking about all that stuff.
Yeah. That's fun. Thank you.